Florida's affordability crisis is hitting renters especially hard right now. A new Consumer Affairs report puts Florida at the top of the list of the worst states for people to rent a home. Our Capitol Bureau reporter Cody Butler tells us how state lawmakers are trying to change that.
With about 2.8 million Floridians renting their home, many are feeling the pinch of rising costs. The Consumer Affairs report shows 67% of those people say they're treading water.
It doesn't surprise me to see this report.
Orlando State Representative Anna Escamani has been advocating for renters in the legislature for years. Being one herself, she hears stories from people struggling to pay their rent firsthand.
So there really is an uneven dynamic when it comes to renters' ability to make ends meet, to pay their bills on time, and of course, the path of an eviction is a really damaging one.
Consumer Affairs confirms much of what a University of Florida report found last year, with rent jumping 39% between 2019 and 2023. Samir Gul is the co-founder of financial health website Insuso. He says this is delaying home ownership for many.
It's their biggest monthly expense, sometimes comprising, up to a third or more of their income. But they're not getting any credit for it. They're not building wealth. They're not improving their credit. They're not sort of reaching their bigger aspirations of the American dream, whatever that might be.
Florida's been trying to address the housing crisis for several years, with the biggest push from the Live Local Act in 2023, a comprehensive strategy to bring more workforce housing to the state that created several new programs.
It's being implemented. We are hearing from local governments and from developers with suggestions on ways to make it better.
Representative Escamani says it's a good long-term plan, but feels the state needs to do something right now.
But we also can't ignore that immediate urgent need, which is where mutual aid, rental assistance, access to legal aid in the face of housing discrimination. So all of those other elements are a very important piece of this puzzle.
A new state law fast-tracks the permitting process for housing development. It's too early to tell how that will help ease the burden for renters. In Tallahassee, I'm Cody Butler reporting.